Hi everyone. Today's video has 3 points and you're going to want to stick around because the third point is a secret as to the one thing you can be doing and should be doing to increase the sale of your books. So let's get into it. The topic we're hitting today is who else wants to make more book sales? Now I know what you're thinking. You initially put your book onto the market and well, of course, everybody was going to find this book and start reading it, and then you would be selling so many copies you didn't know what to do. I even had one of my students even ask the question. There was a question regarding what happens once I release my book. I mean, your inbox is going to get overflowed with emails, and people are going to be contacting you, and what about the press and the media? Well, it doesn't exactly play out that way. In fact, for most authors, it's very disappointing when you first get the book out. It's so exciting, but then suddenly no sales. You're not seeing this book moving in terms of the charts. You're flatlining very quickly. I mean, you have your friends, your family, people you know, and they're eager to buy your book to support your self-publishing business or just the fact that you've finally become an author in the sense you put your very first book out. You went from being a writer, somebody who writes short stories or novels or how-tos or things like that, to actually being an author where you put it out there as a self-published author. But then the sales are not coming in, and this leads to a great deal of frustration because the whole point of it was you would write this book and then people would buy it, and that is what we're going to answer in today's video. This is Chris Baird from selfpublishingmadeeasynow.com, where self-publishing doesn't have to be so hard. Hit the subscribe button if you'd like for me to make more videos like this one, and check out below in the description and grab a copy of my absolutely free self-publishing checklist that will give you the secrets that I personally have used on my 200 plus books that I've self-published on Amazon and Ingram Spark and all of these other sites in order to make as many sales as possible. The very strategies I'm teaching you here and also in this checklist are the very same ones that I have used on all of my books in order to get them selling on a daily basis and while I am sleeping. I wake up every morning, I take a look at the sales for the day. It's very exciting. But let's get into it. From my own story, when I first got my very first book on the market, it was incredibly exciting, but a little bit embarrassing because after all, what if people don't like my book, right? And this is something that so many writers experience, the sensation of the excitement of getting your first book out there. And I just want to say that if you did get it out there, even if it doesn't sell, congratulations, because you've done something that so few people have done. It's not just writing the book, it's also getting it formatted and putting it together in the description, all of these things, and then putting it onto the platform, learning how to register and get it signed up and all of this sort of thing, and then hitting the publish button. And it's so exciting when you've actually managed to do that because you've done something that most people either haven't been able to do or they've been scared to do, because when you put your book, maybe it will reflect upon you, and that's something that a lot of people are concerned about. But for my case, I got the first book out there, but then where were the sales? None of the sales were coming in. But the problem was nobody knows who I am. If people knew who I was, then what would happen was they would start to purchase that book, because after all, they would already be following me on Amazon. And so when I release a new book, they would get a notification of a pre-release of the book. They'd start ordering copies. I do this with my favorite authors. They're all favorited on the website, on Amazon. And so I get a notification personally when each of their books goes online on Amazon so that I don't want to miss a single one. But what about your book? How many people have favorited you as an author? Well, if you haven't even been an author for very long, well, not very many. In fact, probably none, because you need to be discovered. So your number one problem is discoverability. Who are you? Why should we trust you? There's a whole series of questions that go through people's minds, but in reality, they may not even see your book. Think of the thousands of books that are released on a daily basis on Amazon, and they just get mixed together with the other millions of books that are currently out there. And this is a very serious challenge. So who are you and how are they going to discover you? That's the first problem. And my thing was, it was visibility and a promise to solve their problems. That was what I discovered. I needed, in terms of visibility, one of them is running ads and the other is doing content marketing. As I've been telling you about my course below in the description, you can learn how to do content marketing. It's a cheap way, but it is the best use of money in terms of getting your books selling, building a brand around yourself so that people will know, like, and trust you and wish to buy your books. Because if your name is, somebody just drops your name somewhere, does anybody say, who is this? I have no idea who you are. Or do they say, oh yeah, the person who's putting that useful videos or podcasts or blog articles out, or the short stories that they're posting? I just find that really amazing. Or contributing in communities where people who are interested in your books. And notice I didn't say contributing in author communities, because so many authors just dump and spam these groups of other authors thinking that your target audience are other authors, and they are not. And you need to really narrow down who exactly you're targeting, figure out where they are, and then write content that would be very appealing to them. And also stay in touch with them. So when your name shows up and they see you on an Amazon listing, they're going to go, I know you. I should check out your book. You see, this is one of the key things, is discoverability. The other thing is, to find me, I needed to use the right keywords. That was one, the cover and the description. And the description is just a promise of what the value that's going to be delivered, or that we're going to solve a problem. It might be a very exciting story with lots of open loops that they're going to want to buy the book in order to close in your description. Or maybe your description is about puppy training, like I always like to use, and that these people are simply trying to better understand what they need to do in order to train their puppy. So your description is it's not about describing what the book's about. It's about telling them and ensuring and comforting them so that they know if they buy your book, then you're going to deliver the value that you have promised to them. And it is this trust that we're building. But how do they build trust with people you don't know? Well, you can do it through the sales copy here. So the words you use on the page will convince them that maybe they should buy it, even if they don't know you. But if they do know you, the chances of them buying skyrocket. And that's the reason why we want to use things that will help people get to know us. That's where the content marketing course comes in handy if you haven't already started. But maybe you've already got it figured out with your media and your things like that, so you don't really need to do that, and that's just fine. But if you don't have tons of people recognizing your name, and when they see your books considering buying because they know you already, well, then you may definitely wish to consider the absolute cheapest, most efficient way of building an audience. It's a slow method, but over time it works. And the final thing is, I started to see my sales jumping. Even now, I still see the effects of some of the marketing that I've done previously, and the sales continue to go up. And I'm also making promises to the readers that I'm able to deliver on. And that's the important part. We're not scamming anybody. A scam is where a promise is made and we don't deliver what we promised. Whereas this is a great offer. We're actually solving people's problems. And you may be thinking, what problem does fiction solve? And the answer is, it solves boredom, or a need for excitement, or a need to move into a different universe or a world that you haven't been in, or maybe to solve a mystery. There's all sorts of things that your fiction books also will promise and have the ability to deliver. So that's just a couple of the thoughts that I had on this particular subject, but let's get into it, the answers for today. Who else wants to make more book sales? Well, we already know it's everyone, but the first thing we are going to need to do in order to get those book sales is visibility. You're going to need to make sure you're using the right keywords. If people are searching for certain keywords to find your type of book, you're going to want to make sure they're in your title, okay? Your title will have it, your description will have it. In addition, we're going to use paid ads so that we're getting our cover in front of a lot of people on a regular basis. And then finally, the content marketing, which you can learn more about in the description below for the course, because I believe it will seriously help take your books to the next level. Moving on to the second point, it's the promise. You need to use better sales copy. Those are the words you use that sell your products and services. In this case, it would be selling your book. And remember, they're part of the title, they're part of even your description and the table of contents. All of these things are pulling together to try to convince your prospective reader that, yes, I trust you. You seem very reputable, that you're going to be able to deliver on your promise. You told me you would, but now we test it out. We test to see if, in fact, you're going to be able to deliver on what you told me you would be able to do. And that's something that this trust between a writer and author and the reader is a very sacred trust. And that's one of the reasons why, to build that trust, sometimes we have to give away stuff for free to people in order to make sure that they're able to start building that trust and be able to know, like, and trust us so that they will buy our books. And that becomes a winning situation because we're delivering the value, they're satisfied, we come out with new books, and our old customers coming back, plus we're getting new customers, plus you have word of mouth. People are telling other readers about the amazing things that you're doing, and then we're able to drive traffic over to that as well. And so we get into this beautiful cycle here with people discovering you, old people coming back, and we're seeing your books sell like crazy. And of course, I didn't mention it, but the best way to sell books is to write more books. But if you're messing up these issues with the ads and the content marketing and this sort of thing, then you're not going to even get the chance. So you could have 50 books on the market, but probably none of them will sell. A lot of people don't believe me when I say this, but your very first books probably aren't going to sell at all anyways, unless they're like a how-to book and you're in a nice niche. In other words, you've done some fantastic keywords research, which I've commented on other videos how to do. But unless you're doing that, you're not going to sell that many books. We're going to do a slow process of building up an audience. And if you don't believe me, just talk to other writers. Go ahead and ask them how many of them are selling thousands of copies a day. I think you'll find that it's really not that many that are doing that. And I don't want your expectations to be super high here. But I need to get on to the most important and the secret point of the day. And the answer is, don't try everything at once. All of the tools and tips that I give you on this channel and even in this particular video, you should not be doing them all at once. That will create complete chaos, and it will frustrate you and build up friction to making further progress. It takes time to learn these skills, so do not buy 50 courses on how to do everything. I regret for not doing content marketing earlier, so I would recommend starting with that if you've already got your book on the market. If you don't, well, then the formatting course and some of these others will be more useful to you. But at least I would start with content marketing. I would start already building up an audience that way, let Google and Microsoft Bing and Yahoo, let them drive traffic to your website and to you so that people will discover you and they can begin to like reading your material so that they will buy your books and leave positive reviews for you. But that's the first thing I wanted to say. The other thing was just trying one thing at a time until you figure it out, and then we move on to the next one. Like we've continually been pressing, I've personally experienced what it's like to start getting close to the burnout point where you feel like you can't write another word. You feel like it's so difficult to produce. And I found that the main reason for that was either repetitiveness, too much stuff. So I found other people who could do those tasks for me. Or the other thing, it was that I was trying to learn too many things at the same time and I was overwhelmed by that thing. So as we put on this channel, let's keep things easy. It's self-publishing made easy now, not self-publishing made overly complicated now, like many of the fake gurus out there will tell you. You need to buy all of these 50 tools and you need to start investing in multiple courses at the same time. And I'm telling you, don't do it. Learn one thing at a time. Let's move through the steps nice and easy until we get it done. We get your book on the market and then we focus on getting it to sell. So, do you want to make more book sales? Do you feel you're making enough, or do you want to make more sales? If you want to make more sales, write yes below in the comment and let me know how many more sales you would ideally like to be making. And if you feel you're making enough book sales as is, then write no below in the comments and check up above me here for more video answers to your self-publishing questions. Thanks.